a busy schedule. Thank you, Samantha, and welcome everybody. Happy Friday, happy 1st of May. It is an exciting time here at HomeWell, and we want to thank everybody for jumping on today. My name is Mike Condon. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development here at HomeWell, and I am very honored to have Jeff and Meredith Clark here. They are brother and sister from Texas, and they are just absolutely one of our franchisees that are just absolutely killing it. Doing it the right way, and they have a little fun along the way, as we found out at conference as well. So, Jeff, Meredith, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Awesome. Well, why don't we, like we always like to do, start from the beginning? Jeff, you kind of started to go into it. Tell us how you came to HomeWell. What was your guys' reasonings for coming here? And let's start at the beginning.
Okay. So I had grown up in the corporate world and had a number of positions in the pharmaceutical, medical device world, and then more recently the education space, but had been senior level management, VP of sales, things like that. Had done a lot of things, but always working in the corporate environment. I was living in California, did not want to live in California anymore, and wanted to get away from kind of what I was doing. So I went back to Texas, which is our home, our original home, and just kind of thought for a little while about what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to try and do something on my own. Meredith was also kind of looking at that same time, and so we started looking at different franchise opportunities. We looked at a number of different franchises. We're looking at HomeWell and home care. It was something that was kind of personal to us. We had an experience with our grandmother, which we kind of felt like we could do better than what had happened when she was at this stage of her life. So we landed on HomeWell, and also we looked at the industry as a really rapidly growing business, and something we felt like we could both be passionate about, but also that our skills and experiences were complementary for. So, that's kind of where we landed, and then started having conversations with HomeWell, and that was in about February, March of 21, and so we got going from there.
So, when you guys first started talking about this, Meredith, I'd love to hear from your perspective. It sounds like, Jeff kind of came to you and said, hey, I'm kind of looking at this. Like, how did that conversation go between you two? And then what was the ultimate deciding factor to say, hey, this was the right business model and this is the right partner for us to start a business?
I think Jeff and I have always worked well together. At a small segment of time, we worked at a corporate medical device company. And so we were both in a place where we wanted to do something independent. And we felt like this was the time to make the most of this. So it was really not something I had to think about being his business partner. What it would be, as Jeff said, really touches home because we had an experience with our grandmother, and oddly enough, we're now in a position with our parents. So we know the importance of having this type of service. It was really a no-brainer, and we both complement each other. And the fact that Jeff is very good at operations and I am very good at outside sales. And I always say together we make a really amazing human being.
Well, you guys are making an amazing team, to say the least, down there in Texas. So you guys started the process. Talk to everybody. Obviously, what you guys went through is much different than what new franchisees go through today. But talk a little bit about the process, the licensure process, because that's always a big question that comes up. And do you feel the support was there? And obviously, you see some of the stuff going on today. How does it compare to what you guys went through?
So I'll take that. So we started in March of 21. Once we signed and got everything rolling forward, we got connected with the new franchise services and so forth with Laura. And there was a lot of direction in terms of the things that we needed to do, the vendors we needed to start working with and getting licensed and so forth. We applied for our license almost immediately. That was about a month-long wait. So it's about a process, you go back and forth with them and you wait. So that process was about a month, I think, maybe just a little bit longer than that to get our license. But we also learned a lot about how to gather information with regard to our territory and make sure that we were making good decisions in terms of how we set ourselves up and what services we offered and pricing and so forth.
Staffing.
Staffing for sure, yeah.
Mhm.
But a lot of different vendor resources and so forth. What I'll tell you too is that process was 3 years ago. I've seen, and we felt things were adequate then. I would say that HomeWell has really stepped up the game in terms of being able to provide the resources and tools for new owners coming in. I've seen the learning lab. I've seen the folks. I met the people, and I feel like that the organization is much better prepared, much more comprehensive in terms of their ability to provide a solution and getting started.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how quickly in 3 years or so that things can change, hopefully for the better. And it sounds like it has as you guys have continued to grow. So you talked about territory and competition. This is something that always comes up. You guys started with one territory in San Marcos. What was the competition like, and was it scary? I mean, a question that we get all the time is, well, there's a lot of competition in my market. We view that as not a bad thing, right? Because that means the services is there. So talk to us a little bit about the competition you've seen. And as you guys have grown and scaled to multiple territories now, how do you see competition in every market that you service?
I would say in regard to the competition, yeah, it is scary because it's a saturated market, but the people are there to fulfill the needs, and there's plenty of space for all of us. What I would say is most important is to know your competition very well. And once you see where you can do better or can differentiate yourself, that's the key. Whether it's through your care team that goes out and helps, whether it's your salesperson and their commitment to the community within you live. I think that makes a big difference. We all do activities of daily living, but how is it delivered differently and more thoughtfully? Price is always something that people struggle with, but we're a big believer in, you get what you pay for. Jeff and I have become known to pick up things very last minute, and we're also known for never missing a shift. I was with a client at 6:30 this morning. So my families know that undoubtedly HomeWell is going to show up. So
I think that's a huge point. So from a staffing side, how do you ensure as best as you can in our type of model that you can have everything covered? I guess, what is your strategy around recruiting, especially on the caregiver side? And does it ever stop?
No, it doesn't never stop. We're getting fortunate now that we have much a larger number of caregivers. Our team's much bigger than it used to be, so you have more people that you can fall back to. But we have a staff of 4 people here right now, 5 actually, if you include our other marketer. But we have 2 people on our staff always on call, and if we get a last minute call like we did this morning at 6 a.m. for a 6:30 shift, and we can't find somebody immediately to go, one of us will be there.
Yeah,
we have both be on call this weekend.
Yeah. We're getting it's a lot. We do a lot less of it than we used to do, Mike. So I don't want to steer everybody off because it's a lot less than what we used to do. But you've got to go through the growing pains to get there, right? So
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the expectation, right, is always big when it comes to any business. It doesn't matter what business model you're in. As an owner, it's your business, and you have to do whatever it takes to be successful. And that's defined differently, I think, by every owner. But to your point, that as you continue to grow and scale, the opportunity for you to do more of the things you want to do and less of the things maybe you don't want to do is it becomes available. But you got to get to that point, and that's not going to happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight in any business model, including this one. So I mean, that's the reality of what we do, and I appreciate the honesty in that, because that's, again, a big concern that people have, and it's a valid one, and it's good to talk through that. So I kind of want to go into your growth, because I think it's a unique story in a sense that you guys started with one territory, now you've added a couple more. One, why have you decided to continue to grow and expand? And two, what does the future look like for you guys? I mean, you're in Texas, you're in a great market. What does that look like for you? Kind of your long-term vision for this type of business?
So yeah, we were about, what do you think, Meredith? About a year and a half in, maybe not quite, maybe a year.
Maybe a year.
Year and a half in to owning this territory. And as Samantha said earlier, it is a big geographic territory. So it's got challenges, so now we own rural territories and metropolitan territories. And there's a lot of challenges with covering a rural territory, and you have to kind of pick and choose and say, I'm not going to go an hour away, because we have territory that's an hour and a half away in our territory. So we were doing well. We were happy with our performance. Things were growing kind of according to plan, and we looked around and said, okay, what's going to be next? And we didn't want to be really landlocked. We had an owner in Austin who owned territory, so we looked down at San Antonio. San Antonio was fairly open at that point. And so we decided that we'd buy territory adjacent to what we had right now in the New Braunfels, San Marcos area. So we looked at those, and we ended up buying 2 additional territories so that we could grow our business down there. So that was just kind of our preparation for future growth, and so far that's working out really well. We've hired another marketing person now that does what Meredith does, because it's too much geography to cover by one person. Yeah. But yeah, so she started down there, and we're starting to pick up business. We're real pleased with that. We think it's going to make a huge impact, because we almost think there's more opportunity there than there is in our current territory. So, yeah. And then obviously the other change we've recently made, right? So where we've invested in another part of the country. So
yeah, and I think that's okay to talk about, right? I mean, you guys believe so much in what you're doing, not only from taking care of people, but from the business model that your daughter-in-law and son are expanding into the Indianapolis market, which, again, I think the proof is in the pudding when you look at franchise systems that are growing. If current owners are reinvesting back into the business, something must be going right. I think that's a big key differentiator, and obviously you guys believe that, and you believe in Alana, who's going to be fantastic, and I know we're super excited to have her and Josh on our team now as well. So, yeah. If there's a piece of advice you could give somebody who's looking at this, what would you say to them? Say, what are the things you should be looking for, and ultimately, what would you say to them if they're on the fence, saying, "Hey, is this right for me or not?"
Okay, so well, go ahead, Meredith. My thoughts would be, you're likely gonna. I mean, the way HomeWell works, they're gonna give you a territory that's gonna meet the expectations that all the other territories really started with in terms of size and so forth. I'd look at what your payer mix is. I mean, you could have a state where VA is very good. You could have a state where Medicaid's does very well, and all those things. I would look at that type of mix. But I think you're generally going to get a territory that's been carved up in a way that gives you the same opportunity essentially that we had when we looked at it. I think you might look at it from a caregiver standpoint, where you're going to draw your caregivers from and so forth within your market. What else would you add to that, Meredith?
Well, just knowing. Because we do have the availability to be a completely cash pay business. knowing where the economics are within the territory. And again, I think it's imperative to know where your caregivers are going to come from to service that community. And just really be prepared that this is your business. And, you know, it takes a lot to grow, but there's a lot of reward with that. It's not a 9 to 5 job. It's not a set it, forget it. It's going to run.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Meredith and I, we had a built-in marketing person, which was great. So, you know, I always recommend that if you're going to hire a marketer, and I always recommend hiring a marketer, that you find somebody that understands that market already. Get somebody that's already up to speed in that market.
With senior care, elder care, all the entities that we support. Marketer is the key to get the doors rolling. I know there's other referral sources, but a live human being out on the streets getting to know the community is really important.
Yeah, and just to caveat that you know, that's been our approach. I know there's other agencies who have done very well with secondary referral sources and so forth, but it's just been our experience.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show there's a lot of different ways to run your business in this type of model. And what works for you guys might not work in another area and vice versa. So I think having the ability to look at that, and that's where I think we're going to come in from a franchisor perspective and really help kind of guide that conversation and give you the different options to make the best decision for you and your territory. Last question I kind of want to end with is, from a franchisor perspective, obviously we feel we do a lot of things right. And we don't do everything right. I will be the first one to admit that. If you could maybe name 1 or 2 things you think we do really well to help support you and the growth of your business.
I'll start off. I'll just say, you know, we love the franchise business consultant interaction, and the you know, we talk with Stu, we talk to Brad. We feel like we've got continual support there should we need it. We're getting into that point in with our agency's history where we feel like we pretty much understand how to run our business, but there's things that come up and there's help that we need from time to time, and we feel like you know, Stu and Brad are there for us all the time and quick to respond to us. So I think from that standpoint, the support that's ongoing has been very important to us.
And in addition to the support from the HomeWell team, being able to attend regional meetings and our national meetings and build relationships to see how other franchisees are doing it, and having those relationships to bounce things off of. You know, how are you doing it this way? And oh my gosh, I never thought. So utilizing the other teams across the country.
Yeah, the networking piece and really the share between owners has been extremely valuable.
Yeah, I couldn't stress it enough. Again, a lot of people ask that question, is like, what value does the franchisor bring? I mean, I think we bring a lot of value, but in all honesty, you as a network of owners bring the most value. Just that communication, that camaraderie, and the knowledge of that. And the one thing that I think we're very blessed with here at HomeWell is all of our be successful. And at the end of the day, that's what it's boiled down to. And I think that's why we've been able to be so successful, because of folks like yourselves who are willing to give and not worry about getting back, because it's all about the team. As a Michigan guy, I'll use a Bo Schembler saying, you know, it's all about the team, and thank you for that. So, Jeff, Meredith, thank you so much for your time today. I want to be conscious as busy business owners. You guys got a lot going on down there in Texas as you guys continue to grow your agency, but thank you so much for your time today. And anybody on the call, if you guys have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to your we'll be happy to. If you're starting to going into the validation phase and you want to talk to Jeff and Meredith, I know they don't mind doing the validation calls at all. So let us know. We can definitely connect you guys. But with that, happy Friday, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Meredith, for your time today. And we look forward to seeing everybody soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
My pleasure.